Hey everybody, Star 6 Wars 1 here, and welcome to the finale of the Best of Anime videos. I find it fitting to end off not only the Best of Anime series, but 2015 in general with my current top 30 favorite anime. Since the start of the project, I knew this was how I was going to end this series. Since I've looked at some of my favorite aspects of shows within the past few videos, I thought it would make sense to create a top 30 list of anime that I absolutely adore. As you may have noticed, I made two other favorite lists in the past, which are horribly outdated, so I don't mind remaking a list. However, this time, I feel like including movies and OVAs, just to spice things up. Also, I'll be tagging everyone who watches this video to create a top list, but you are not forced to make one. I'm just curious to see what anime you love and why. Enough of the chit-chat, let's just dive in. Number 30, The Disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya. Now, before I go too deep into the entire series here, I want to go over a topic that happens with a lot of countdown lists, and does relate to a few other entries in this countdown. Outdated opinions. Sometimes you have a fondness towards something that later dies out. This can happen because of several reasons, like a change in taste, growing bitter towards a certain genre you once loved, its lasting appeal dying off, or seeing the flaws of a series you once praised, which can cause your thoughts on a series to dwindle. This can generate conflict between something you once liked versus something you currently love. For a personal example, you won't see any major romance anime in this countdown because of my growing bitterness towards the whole romance genre. It has gotten to the point where I can't decide on whether or not I like past favorites like Clannad or Toradora. I don't hate them yet, but I can't tell if I still like them. How does this relate to The Disappearance? Well, since it's part of the romance genre, my opinion is outdated, and rewatching it might change my opinion. However, unlike my previous example, Disappearance's outdated opinion has more to do with not seeing it in a while and not thinking about it since my last watch of it. The last time I saw the film, I really liked it a lot. I loved how Kion's character changed as well as his development from beginning to end. Also, the story was intriguing with an interesting portrayal of the main character in an alternate setting. This is definitely KyoAni's finest work in terms of art and animation, which was improved upon from the TV series and looks absolutely beautiful at points. In the future, I will rewatch the film to either solidify it on my favorites or kick it off, but as of right now, I feel like it sits nicely as number 30, and I highly recommend you all check it out since for now, I believe it's an anime classic. Number 29, FateZero. Speaking of outdated opinions, FateZero is probably the best example of one on this list. The last time I saw FateZero was in December of 2014. However, since then, a lot of my opinions regarding the Fate franchise and the writer of FateZero, Gen Urobuchi, have changed. I've grown a huge distaste for the Fate franchise and realized that aside from FateZero, the franchise isn't good. It's actually bad. With the Gen Urobuchi thing, I realized he's not a good writer, and anime I used to like from him, I now find unpleasant to even think about. This leaves me with weird feelings towards FateZero, despite it being a favorite of mine. I still like some aspects about FateZero, which is mainly certain characters like Rider, Waver, Gilgamesh, and Kirei, because unlike most any character in Fate Stay Night, they actually develop or are entertained to watch from start to finish. I also think the story is interesting to watch despite having boring moments. What I'm saying is that while FateZero may be flawed, I can see the positives which outweigh the negatives. However, my thoughts may change when I eventually rewatch it again, but for now, I still enjoy all the good aspects that FateZero has offered me. Number 28, Millennium Actress. This is the first but not the last of Satoshi Kon's works on this list. When I first watched this movie, I was surprised by how much I liked it. I had no idea what I was getting into, and I came out of it being awestruck and blown away. I think the best part of the movie was easily the visual aspects like the cinematography, coloring, character designs, and the gorgeous backgrounds, which were all accompanied with masterful execution that I can't praise enough. It looks beautiful. I also found myself engrossed with the main character, Chiyoko, who is an actress as she told her life story shown throughout the film. Also, the OST is amazing and perfectly captures the atmosphere and mood of each scene masterfully. I also liked how the movie ended with a satisfying conclusion. There weren't many bad elements to distract or take away from the overall experience. Hell, the only reason I don't have it placed higher is because I simply favor other entries more. However, don't let its low placement affect your perspective on Millennium Actress, since it's a wonderful anime film created by a director who left this world too soon. Number 27, Paranoia Agent. Time for another anime done by Satoshi Kon, which is the only full series he ever directed, Paranoia Agent. I don't think I've ever encountered an anime that I feel like I both understand and don't at the same time like this anime. It is a weird entity unlike many other anime I've encountered. I know I watched characters that went through their lives either together or apart depending on the situation or character. I know the animation and direction still has that Kon greatness that I've come to expect from his works. I know the music was fantastic, being spectacularly composed once again by Hirasawa Suzumu, and I know I saw something unique, uncomparable to other anime. But I'll be damned if I completely understood it. I can't even comprehend how to describe Paranoia Agent except for it's fucking weird. It's a cryptic puzzle that I've been trying to solve since finishing it. I think its puzzling nature is the main reason it's on my favorites in the first place. I don't understand Paranoia Agent, but my burning desire to crack the puzzle is why I will eventually rewatch it to see where or even if it will be on my favorites. Though for now, I believe this is the perfect spot for it. Number 26, Technol Eyes. Out of all of my favorites, this is the oddest and yet one of the more interesting choices on this list. Technol Eyes is one of the most dark and depressing piece of media I have ever seen. There truly isn't a happy moment in the entire series. It begins as a somber anime and goes on a downward spiral from there, resulting in an experience I could only describe as soul-crushing. A lot of the time it feels like the anime hates you and all of humanity, which amplifies the angry and nihilistic nature of the show. Pessimistic doesn't even begin to describe the ideologies of the characters and story. It feels like it crushes you. For some people, it can be a depressing watch. It is as cold and distant as an anime could be. It's an experience that you can't get out of any anime because, while it's soul-crushing, it gives you an odd satisfaction upon completion that not many other anime can accomplish. I can't disclose any information without trying to talk about the entire series, so it's best you go into Technol Eyes semi-blind. For me, I think this show is my antithesis. At the end of the day, I'm an optimist who wants to believe in the best of humanity, despite having some occasional cynical thoughts. But it's interesting to me that Technol Eyes' themes are the polar opposite to my own ideologies, yet I can't help but be fascinated and engrossed in it, despite not agreeing with its nihilistic messages. I will admit it's a difficult anime for many people to get through, and some may never complete it at all. Its themes and tone might be too overbearing for some to handle, but getting through this anime is extremely rewarding. There isn't quite an anime like Technol Eyes. True, there are anime that are pretty dark and depressing, but nothing like Technol Eyes, and I like it that way. Number 25, Steins Gate. After a 3-entry break, another show with my opinions being outdated comes once again with Steins Gate. This is an oddball for me. Unlike previous outdated opinions I've had so far, Steins Gate stands out because while I like it, my reasons are pretty shallow. I'm a sucker for stories that explore the concept of time travel. I love to see the theories of time travel and how different shows go about utilizing these theories to venture either to the past or the unknown future. These things can only be seen in time travel plots. However, the major problem with all time travel stories are the reoccurring plot holes and inconsistencies that often appear. Look at the abomination known as Sonic 06, or some episodes of Doctor Who for examples of the problems within these types of stories. Time travel plots are very difficult to understand and are extremely easy to screw up, with 9 times out of 10 having these shows epically fail. Steins Gate is one of the few time travel stories that accomplishes a couple of things decently well, which is a godsend seeing how the concept of time travel resonates with me. Though even I will say that being a better time travel tale doesn't necessarily make Steins Gate good. While I like certain characters like Okabe, Suzuha, and Kurisu, they and the rest of the characters are mostly one note or stereotypes that we have seen before. It can be very fan-servicey to sci-fi fans and otaku pandering, which can be perceived as a negative for some people. The final nail in the coffin is that sometimes you can clearly tell that Steins Gate is a visual novel adaptation. Granted, it's better than, say, EF or Fate Stay Night combined, but that doesn't determine if the show is good, it just makes it better than both. I don't fully know if I can call Steins Gate good anymore, so I need to rewatch it again to find out. Though as a sci-fi and anime fan, I love time travel stories and certain characters in Steins Gate, which is enough for me to keep it on my favorites list. Number 24, Wolf's Rain. For me, Wolf's Rain has been an interesting anime for me to pin down its placement on my favorites. I feel like it should both be higher on my favorites, yet at the same time, I believe this is where it belongs because while I like certain aspects about the anime, the few flaws it does contain detracts from my overall opinion, as while I really love the characters like Quint, Darsha, Hub, Sumi, and Hige, because I find them all entertaining or interesting, but despite that, I don't care about other characters because I found they weren't as intriguing or delightful as the previously 5 mentioned. I also think that while the final 4 episodes were the perfect conclusion for the anime because of its somber nature, it may be a huge turnoff to have to skip through 4 recap episodes. I find for myself particular tracks from the OST stand out, such as the piece titled Shiro. However, it doesn't fully resonate with me like Bebop's or other Yoko Kanno soundtracks. It may sound like I'm being negative towards Wolf's Rain, but I honestly love the anime and believe its positives outweigh its few negative aspects, but not enough to justify a higher placement on this list. Number 23, Jinro. Before watching Jinro, I heard a couple of times that the movie was absolutely fantastic. After finishing the film, I felt it wasn't phenomenal, but I felt it still deserved a spot on my favorites, as I adore the movie's cinematography and animation. It looks gorgeous and has a special style that I appreciate. The characters may not be the most complex characters I've seen, but they're likable enough to keep me interested in the engrossing experience throughout the film. I also found myself invested in the story and saddened by the ending, which was a shocker, as I didn't expect the movie to make me emotional at its conclusion. Like I said, I'm not sure if I'd call it fantastic, but it never became bad. It was a fascinating experience because, while it could have been disappointing, it turned out more of an intriguing watch that ended with me sad yet satisfied, which is all I ever could have asked for. Number 22, Cowboy Bebop. There has been a lot said regarding Cowboy Bebop, with many anime fans either praising it or giving it criticism. So what is there left to be said? Well, here's my perspective on it. Cowboy Bebop is an interesting and at times thought-provoking series. I really like the characters like the chill and lively Spike, the hard-ass father figure of the group Jet, the eccentric but fun-to-watch Ed, and the sexy, deadly, and mysterious Faye Valentine. They aren't necessarily the deepest characters out there, but they do have enough depth to them to make them interesting. The stories of the Bebop crew are mostly episodic, and while they may be necessary, it can be a hindrance to the narrative of Bebop. I find that they give insight to the characters and have enough of an ongoing story to make the crew feel like a family, or in this case, a dysfunctional family. The music is a joy to listen to. I love tracks like Rain, Greenbird, Call Me, Goodnight Julia, and others resonate very well with me. I still think it's Yoko Kanno at her finest with this soundtrack. Bebop for me is more a fun time rather than a respected classic, though I do think most anime fans should at least view this anime once, given what Bebop has done for the anime community and how anime is viewed in the West, but that doesn't mean you have to like the anime, as it does have its flaws like any other. But like I said, it was a fun time for me, which is enough for me to place it on my favorites. Number 21, Perfect Blue. Back with another entry with Satoshi Kon, his first directorial work, Perfect Blue. It is the best horror anime I've ever seen, and a fantastic movie in general, from beginning to end. So it is amazing that Satoshi Kon was able to create a work as amazing as this, since it was his first time as a director. It displays all that Satoshi Kon's cinematography and directorial greatness that I mentioned from the previous entries, so I won't repeat myself here. However, what I will say is the main character Mima, her position in the movie is understandable, and we get why she is psychologically broken and fearful throughout the story, which helps the film greatly because you want to see her improve and can understand the struggles she's going through in the film. The story has you on the edge of your seat as it blurs the lines between reality and delusion of Mima's mind, so it definitely requires a rewatch to fully comprehend. It is, without a doubt, the best Kon film. Because even if I think his other films have better aspects like Millennium Actress's direction and Paranoia Agent, I believe Perfect Blue is his overall best work and well worth a watch. It's a masterful movie by a masterful director. Number 20, Welcome to the NHK. I know a few people would be, disappointed this anime isn't higher on my list, but that by no means makes NHK bad, or even something I dislike. I find it one of the more realistic dark comedy drama anime I've seen, giving a portrayal of a very human and relatable character cast. Said characters are all damaged people that struggle with finding their place in society as they constantly deal with social anxiety and problematic relationships. Even if it may be hard to sit through at times due to their damning flaws, they're humanistic, flawed, but not bad people. I know NHK is very personal to a lot of people, and I won't diminish that, cause it was personal for me too, as I related to some of the situations Sato got himself into, and I relate a lot to certain aspects of Yamazaki, like being passionate about what he loves, like how he was trying to create his hentai game and putting effort into it despite its demographic, because that's what he wanted to do. That put me in his place because I do some of the same things that got him into frustrating situations, even if it might not be his fault. Just because this has a low placement on my countdown doesn't mean I don't get why this anime is very special to many. NHK can relate to a lot of our darker moments in life, especially in today's society with many people feeling like an outcast or even someone in need. But the anime also shows that despite these darker moments in life, there are some moments of happiness to be treasured and that life is worth living for, because even if you feel worthless and alone, there are people who love and care about you. It is a very unique piece that I deeply respect and love. Number 19, Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. Talk about a major turnaround. For the longest time, Brotherhood was tied for being my favorite anime. However, as time has passed, little things about Brotherhood started bothering me more, and I continuously lowered my opinion of it until it hit number 19. That's not that I lost my personal attachment to it, as it was the anime that helped me in making me love the media with its interesting and entertaining characters like Ed, Al, Roy, and the rest of the cast, and its story that was pretty engaging for the most part, but its flaws like a boring middle section with the northern arc, a rushed first bit because it was already done in the first FMA, and a bit too happy of a conclusion made me start to look back at it with some thoughts that made me realize that I have anime I liked more than it and thought were better. Is it still a great anime? Definitely, but it is no longer my favorite or even top 10 material. I still love you, Brotherhood, just not to the level I used to. Number 18, Tokyo Godfathers. While I did say that Perfect Blue was Satoshi Kon's best work, I never said it was my favorite. Nah, that would be Tokyo Godfathers. Now, I could be totally shallow and say it's my favorite of his works because it takes place during my favorite time of year, and yes, that is one of the reasons, but it's not the only one. For one, I like the main three, which make for great characters because of their individual character arcs and the group dynamic. I also like the story, regardless of how impossible some of the situations are. The main reason, though, is it gives me an odd feeling that I don't get from Kon's other works. And I don't quite know how to explain it, but it's along the lines of heartwarming feeling and satisfaction. Which is odd because there are plenty of dark and fucked up moments in the movie, but that's how I feel towards it. For that and other reasons, I find Tokyo Godfather stands out among Kon's works and find it my favorite of his works. Number 17, Helsing Ultimate. Helsing Ultimate is a pretty simple anime to understand. It's about the Helsing organization, along with their vampire servant, Alucard, fighting the Nazi vampires of Millennium, with some skirmishes with the Iscariot organization, who disagree with the Helsing organization with using the vampire Alucard. Mostly, though, it's just simple over-the-top action, which is just a ball to watch, because the story is engaging enough to make me want to see it. It's not also bad in the music and animation departments either. I think what I most enjoy about Helsing Ultimate, though, is the characters. Characters like Alucard, Alexander Anderson, Ceres Victoria, Integra Helsing, and the Major make the anime enjoyable as fuck. On top of that, Alucard is one of my favorite vampires in fiction, because for one, even if he's the protagonist, he's still a vampire and not one of those dumb, oh woe is me, Twilight vampires. He may be badass and with the good guys, but he isn't a good guy himself. At his core, he is still a blood-sucking demonic monster, and that's what I like about him. Helsing Ultimate, for the most part, at least, is self-aware of what it is. It's a demonic vampire gore fest of fighting Nazi vampires and Alexander Anderson, and while it can be very edgy when it wants to be, it is at the very least enjoyable when compared to other anime that could be called similar to it. Ultimately, Helsing Ultimate was at the very least an enjoyable watch, even if it isn't the perfect anime. Number 16, Bakemonogatari. Story time! Originally, I preferred the next entry to the Monogatari franchise, Nisei Monogatari. However, as time has gone on, I've been finding that I have grown more liking to Bake despite my first watch of it not being the best experience I've had. Ultimately, I compared the two and found there was a lot more to Bake than I gave it credit for, and a lot more for me to like, and not on a superficial level, unlike Nisei. I think that Bake is a great anime and probably the best ecchi anime I've ever seen at this point, because while Bake may seem like a simple ecchi, unlike so many of its genre, it has more merit to it. It has pretty good and interesting character cast, like the main character Araragi, the smart and beautiful Hanakawa, and the entertaining to watch Kanbaru, and so many more. The characters make what could have been a boring conversations to being interesting ones you want to pay attention to, which shows how strong the character cast is. The arcs in the anime, for me at least, are great and interesting for the most part. My favorites being Kanbaru and Hanakawa's arcs because of my liking towards both characters, and finding the events of said arcs being fun to watch as well as fascinating so more than the other arcs. The animation has a style all its own and in a way has become Studio Shaft style for most of its anime, however, it's best done here. Honestly, it makes the anime stand out even from other anime that tried the same technique but failed. The opening and ending themes are also great and memorable, which is impressive given the 5 openings it has for each arc. I underestimated it before, but now I've grown a love for Bake as it's a great anime with a lot of impressive merit to it. Number 15, Hunter x Hunter 2011. This is the first of 2 anime on this list I have yet to finish. However, even with only seeing 58 episodes and finishing the York New arc, I can't not include Hunter x Hunter. When watching it, I got engrossed in the story arcs like the impressively good Hunter exam, the amazing world building in the Heaven's Arena arc, and the outright great time I have with the York New arc. I love the characters like the adorable and lovable Gong, the intelligent and wise Kurapika, the good guy that is Leorio, the awesome Killua, and the wild card that is Hisoka. Despite some complaining about the repetitiveness throughout the series, I get to listen to the same song that opens the anime, only switching the lyrics every so often. I love the world that is built throughout the anime, which can leave for months on end and return to it like no time has passed, because it is built just that well. In many ways, Hunter x Hunter reminds me why I started watching anime in the first place, to see the worlds that anime has to offer, the characters you grow to know and love, the stories that have been written so well, and to see every one of those qualities unfold so masterfully around me. The only reason it's not higher is simply because I haven't finished it yet, and I'd feel guilty placing it higher. That doesn't change that Hunter x Hunter is a fantastic anime, so don't let its higher episode count scare you off, as it's worth it for me so far, and I think all anime fans should at least try to see it at some point. Number 14, Kill la Kill. Now here with the second of the 2 anime I have yet to complete on this list, we have Kill la Kill. When I first attempted to watch this over a year ago, I wrote it off at the time as an inferior Gurren Lagann clone. However, I now know that it is far from the truth, as while it does have a lot of the same spirit as Gurren had, it's its own entity. It has great and fun characters with Ryoko, Mako, Satsuki, Nui Harame, Gamagori, Senketsu, Ragyo, and too many others to name here, that all grow and develop as the anime goes on. The story, while kinda simple and dumb at times, is engaging and really easy to watch due to how it's always balls to the wall with the way it presents itself. The music, my god, the music. Hiroyuki Sawano just hits it out of the ballpark with this soundtrack, having some amazing tracks with Blumenkran's, Satsuki's theme, Nui Harame's theme, Suck My Blood, Gamagori's theme, and again, too many others to name here. I regret writing it off so long ago, but now I can fully appreciate what a great anime Kill la Kill is. Number 13. Baccano. I've watched Baccano multiple times and have always enjoyed it while finding myself engrossed by the random way the story tells its tale and try to piece it together while watching it. I find the characters fun and enjoyable to watch. Yes, even those not as great, characters like Dallas. I love the opening theme and the jazz of it, just yes. And then you get Baccano no theme, a track so great I could listen to it over and over again, though I find the rest of the soundtrack lacks the enjoyability of the previously two mentioned. I think how you will like it or not depends on if you enjoyed it. A lot of it is not greatly serious and relies on the rule of cool to carry it a lot of the time, which even I'll say may be a huge turnoff for some. Is it perfect? No, but I enjoy it greatly and find it sits nicely here. Number 12, Rurouni Kenshin Trust and Betrayal. Though my thoughts on the series Rurouni Kenshin is mixed, I believe Trust and Betrayal is a fantastic OVA. It uses its somber tone to its advantage to portray the dark history of the character Kenshin, and how he went from being a kid to becoming the Batosai that we heard about in the show. Witnessing his growth truly is the highlight of the anime. Now, I realize a number of people love to harp on Studio Dean, and that's for good reasons, like Pupa, CGI dragons, and making unneeded Higurashi OVAs, but this is definitely the most visual pleasing works they've produced. Also, I'm very surprised that Taku Iwasaki composed the OVA's amazing music because it feels different from his other soundtracks. It shows he isn't just limited to having grand and epic tracks that he often creates. This anime could have gone horribly wrong since prequels usually tend to fail, like, let's say, Star Wars. It's also made by Studio Dean, which isn't a good studio, and I have mixed feelings towards the main series. However, Trust and Betrayal is a personal favorite of mine. Number 11, FLCL. This anime is just a joy to watch. I find that I enjoy this anime more each time I watch it because the characters are extremely entertaining and witnessing their development is such a treat. Initially, the story was quite confusing to follow, but in retrospect upon many rewatches, it's pretty simple to understand. I love the uniqueness of the music compared to other shows because the creators decided to use the band called the Pellos, which I don't see done for many other anime. To me, FLCL is similar to my thoughts on Baccano, but it's higher on the list because I found the story more entertaining despite its shorter length. It fights nicely as my number 11. Number 10, Penguindrum. It's funny, given that my less than stellar first experience with an Ikehara anime, Yurikuma, I never once thought one of his works would end up in my favorites, let alone my top 10. But here we are with Penguindrum taking the 10th spot, and man does it deserve it. I was amazed to find I enjoyed the characters Ringo, the brothers Shoma and Kanba, as well as Himari. I also found the story pretty simple to understand rather than simply being confused by vague symbolism. The openings, the OST piece, the Children of Fruit and Destiny, and ending themes were a joy to my ears to listen to. I was really impressed by Penguindrum and how much I look forward to the next episode, so my only regret is not seeing this sooner. However, if nothing else, I'm glad I saw it. Number 9, Digimon Tamers. I've had a long history with the Digimon franchise as a whole, even going back as far as when I was 4 years old, and for the longest time I worried that a lot of my love for Tamers in particular was more based on nostalgia than it actually being a great anime. However, after watching bits of it again and discussing it with other fans of the series, I realized that it's not only because of nostalgia, but I love it for being something I see as genuinely amazing. Most of the characters grow from the start of their individual story arcs to the ending of the series, where everything comes full circle. The story for the most part is pretty solid in what it tried to accomplish by developing the bond between the Digimon and their tamers, presenting that the Digimon have their own sentience and personality, and one of the better aspects of the series, giving different perspectives the characters have on Digimon. You can see that Yamaki views the Digimon as a threat to the world, Henry seeing them as friends but not wanting them to fight, and Rika viewing them as data for personal gain, all of which are unique insights to the characters. Because of these qualities, I think, young or old, it's a series I think is both great and an enjoyable watch. Number 8. Shinsekai Yori. This anime is absolutely fantastic, with a story that I feel never got boring, which engrossed me from the first second to the last moment. It builds the world in such a believable way that I can only call it masterful. It's an excellent example of proper foreshadowing to future events, and uses it to its benefit in a way that most anime can only dream of. Being one of only 2 or so anime that's plot takes place over a long passage of time, and doesn't distract from the overall story. This makes me still think it has one of the absolute best stories in anime in recent years. Sadly, it does have its problems, stemming from certain characters, and A1 not giving the budget the anime deserved, though it makes up for it by handling its themes and storytelling with utmost care and maturity, which is respectable for not only modern anime, but fiction in general. It's an anime I recommend to anyone who enjoys great storytelling and theme exploration. Number 7, Trigun. Trigun is, for me, a series that I find to be much more enjoyable and even better than its rival Bebop. Despite not being the popular opinion, the characters are not only fun to watch, but have complexity as well, like how Vash tries his hardest to move on from his past despite being a goofball, Wolfwood and him being a foil and friend to Vash, having a hard past of his own, but still living life how he wants to. And the insurance girls, Millie and Meryl, who are just entertaining to watch throughout. That's not even mentioning the other great characters who I can't really talk about without going into spoilers, which I wouldn't dare. The story is also really good and solid. For the first bit, it's just mainly some adventures with Vash, and it's fun to watch, especially as you get to see how Vash and the other characters are during this bit, so that when shit hits the fan in the second half, you can care more about the main characters and want to see them succeed in their journey. On that note, I find it surprising that the series is able to basically do a tone 180 from lighthearted journey to something much darker at the halfway point, and not feel totally unnatural, which is amazing as other anime can't do that nearly as well. Its music is also unique and just screams Trigun. Tracks like Perfect Night, Big Bluff, Fool's Paradise, HT, Rakyuen, Scattered Rain, and Suna no Yoshi are some of my favorite tracks, which I frequently listen to. I love this anime, and it's not hard to see why. I find it more likable than its rival, and a lot more fun to watch. Number 6, Berserk. Berserk is the tale of Guts and his journey from being a simple mercenary to becoming the feared Black Swordsman. Berserk is an anime that means a great deal to me compared to the previous anime on this list. It's a story of ambition, the price is set ambition, the dreams of Guts, Griffith, and the Band of the Hawk. Guts finding meaning in his life and the tragedy that befalls them all. Guts in particular's theme is very understandable to me because he searches for a purpose in life beyond just simple surviving by the sword and wanting to be seen as Griffith's equal. And it's very sad to see what all comes from that. And these themes are largely the reason why I really like the main character Guts and find him to be one of my favorite anime characters. While I prefer Guts, Griffith is also a fascinating character to look at and analyze in his own right because of his ambition and pride and what all comes from that. I've went on record stating how much I love the OST. It is masterful and helps make Berserk into something amazing. It does have its problems like in the animation department, however, it matters very little in the grand scheme of things because of all it does right, which is a lot. Berserk is a masterful anime that I adore to no end. Number 5, the 2012 adaptation of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. When it comes to JoJo, I think I like it for the enjoyment it gives me from the characters and their interactions with each other, like with the dynamics of Jonathan and Dio and their journey as brothers and mortal enemies, and Joseph and Caesar's friendship that grows over the course of battle tendency. I enjoy the two major stories it gives us. I enjoy the OST that fittingly accompanies the show when watching an episode. I enjoy both openings and endings for being very catchy and highly memorable, and I also enjoy those killer changes that, while distracting at times, I get a kick out of because it adds a style all its own. Does it do some edgy things every so often? Yeah. Does it have huge Deus Ex Machinas? You bet! And does it have some things other people wouldn't like for it? Oh, most definitely. I can't say as though JoJo is flawless, as it does have many problems that prevent it from being one of the greats, on a critical standpoint. And I do know those that don't enjoy JoJo, and that's fine, because it isn't a perfect series and does things in it that will bother other people that might not bother me. However, despite that, I still love JoJo. I have a ball watching it because of its nature. I actually got emotional at certain scenes, which, when first watching it, I never expected to happen. I love the character of Joseph Joestar and his antics, as well as his growth in the series. It may not be for everyone, but I hold JoJo in high regard, and have it stand proud in my favorites. Number 4. Neon Genesis Evangelion and the End of Evangelion. It's funny, only a year ago I would have said I hated these two, but as time and experience has gone on, I've grown to not only like, but absolutely love NGE and End of Eva. Part of it was my talks with Marvin about it and seeing a side of it that I once refused to see. The other was rewatching both and taking what we had talked about into my own perception and saw the brilliance in it. Now being able to see that the story had great foreshadowing. Eva has a depth to its themes, such as not running away and that life may be difficult but it's worth living for, as well as it having symbolism that is done in such a way I couldn't even begin to describe how well it was executed on both ends. The way that Eva concluded is so amazing that many anime could only dream of being that spectacular. The characters make you think on a more than a surface level like I had when I first saw it. Like I once saw Rei as a boring and bland character. Now I see she has her struggles and personality in her own way. And I once saw Asuka as nothing but a bitchy character, but now I see the complex reasons she's like that and the value of a great character. The animation that I once saw was dated and bad. I now see how they were working with a limited budget, and it was impressive that it even looked that good at all. It's impressive the feats it accomplishes. Hell, End of Eva went from at one point being my most hated film to my favorite film, period. No other piece of media has ever been able to do that for me except Eva. It's a masterful anime that I love a lot. Number 3, Kiriko in a Basket. Now we are getting into the real personal stuff, and what better way to start that than with Kiriko in a Basket, one of the anime I hold closest to me. When I first saw Kiriko, I did so because at the time my friend was sick and feeling down, and I knew Kiriko was one of his favorites, so I decided to give it a chance. Though, when I first saw it, I never once thought it would end up as my third favorite anime, nor did I think it would be an anime that has now defined my friendship with Marvin, but once I started it, it quickly became a favorite. The first season felt like a warm-up season, but was really good in its own right. Still, the next 2 seasons would surpass it, as season 2 was the most hyped season with tons of exciting matches. It just got me excited just watching all the matches and was easily the most epic of the seasons. Then came season 3, the final season, and the one I got emotional impact with, and where it became my third favorite anime. The previous 2 seasons gave the hype level to put it on my top 5, but it's the third season that made the already great anime into something special to me. It had all the heart and the conclusion I had wanted from Kiriko, and each episode as well as each match I got really invested into. But even more than that, what made this anime so special is that I got to see it with my best friend Marvin. We got excited for each match, felt bad when a team lost, even when it wasn't the main character's team, and we both grew to love Kiriko, and one that in some ways has defined our friendship over the past years as an irreplaceable friendship. Just like how in many ways Kiriko in a Basket is an irreplaceable anime to me, as well as the next 2 obviously, but Kiriko is and always will be a special anime to me that can never ever be replaced. Number 2, Gurren Lagann. I've talked about Gurren Lagann in the past, and its inclusion is very unlikely to surprise a lot of you if you've seen me on the net before. What may surprise some of you, however, is that in a few ways, Gurren Gurren Lagann even surpasses my favorite anime. Gurren Lagann contains my favorite battle in all of anime, one of my favorite characters in Simone, my favorite opening theme in anime, and my favorite ending in anime. Beyond that though, Gurren Lagann is an anime I have very special attachment to. When I first watched it, I was going through a very rough patch in my life, and during that time I was into really dark and serious anime and thought that anime like Gurren Lagann were childish and beyond me. Till I saw it, and it reminded me why I fell in love with anime in the first place. It taught me that you don't have to be a dark and serious show to be good, which made for a very pleasant first experience. The second time I watched it was for a collab review with a good friend of mine, Dante, because both of us loved the series. If it wasn't for that suggestion of making a collab review, I may not have become friends with Marvin and many other people I've been friends with, because he opened me up to the idea of using Skype to talk with friends, which I can't thank him enough for. My third watch of it made me realize what I'm looking for in anime: heart and passion. The passion behind the work they did for it, the heart of the characters, story, and themes they created, and Gurren Lagann made me realize that. In many ways, Gurren Lagann isn't smart, but instead wise. It has too many leaps of logic and deus ex machinas aplenty for it to be smart, but it is wise with its characters and messages, from Simone's growth as a character and a man to its message in believing in yourself, never giving up, following your dreams, and to move forward even when times are tough. It's so much more than just a simple, dumb, fun action show, and I have a love for Gurren Lagann that can't be matched in many regards. It's a series that I absolutely love with all my heart. For my number one, I've said it many times in the past that it's my favorite anime, but here it is again. My favorite anime is Fullmetal Alchemist 2003. I know I probably sound like a broken record going on and on about FMA03, but I love it that much, as it's the anime that got me into anime as a whole. To see fantastic worlds and heartfelt characters that I love, that's what FMA originally gave me. I watched to see that, and for so many other reasons. The struggles of Ed and his brother Al to regain what they have lost. Roy Mustang, who wants to set right what he did so long ago. Winry Rockbell, the childhood friend who always waits for the brothers to return home. Maze Hughes, the man who adores his wife and kid. The homunculi who seek to become human or fulfill their own personal goals. The amazing OST with my favorite track in all of anime. The animation that, while aged, has a timeless feel to it, and so many other things make this anime so special and amazing to me. But even more than that, FMA has something special that no other anime can even hope to match in my attachment and love for it. When I first started the anime, I never imagined what would come after finishing this series, the great friends I'd make thanks to this anime, the joy I got from other anime that followed after seeing it, the anger that I would feel for an anime I considered bad, the tears of sad moments I would see, I got from this and other anime. None of that would be possible without my first watch of FMA03 over 3 years ago. Even after all this time, I always come back to this anime to look as my favorite. No other anime can hope to match the unending love I have for it. I don't care if some say it's flawed with its animation or story, if some call Brotherhood the better Fullmetal Alchemist, nor that it didn't follow the manga like Brotherhood claims to. What I care about is that FMA03 means so much to me, and that even after all this time, it remains my favorite anime. To me, it's more than an anime. It's a reminder of where I started as an anime fan, where I am now as an anime YouTuber, and where I hope to go in the future. It's one of the few shows that I can both laugh and cry with. It reminds me of the bonds I've made, and more than anything, it showed me a whole new world of possibilities. FMA03 isn't just my favorite anime, it's my favorite piece of fiction ever. Because of it and many of the other entries on this list, I love anime. I wouldn't be here making a top list if I didn't. I wanted to share my absolute love for the medium, even if it can be heavily flawed at times. True, sometimes I go overboard with hating anime and can be overbearing with love for an anime, but that's because I care that much about it, and it's all thanks to a little anime called Fullmetal Alchemist that I grew to feel that way towards anime as a whole. Thank you to all the creators of this wonderful anime, and thank you to all those who saw my video today. and I hope you'll continue to watch my videos in the future. I hope you have a happy New Year's and a great 2016 to come. And with that, this has been Star 6 Wars 1, and I'll see you again real soon.